so that we make sure that we have this for later use. Okay. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Kevin Hetrick. I am the Director of IT and Customer Support here at SimpleTAX. Um, this has been a weird year, so we're going to go ahead and address sort of the elephant in the room, and that's what are we going to do this year? How are we going to do this? So I want to kind of give you guys some advice. To start off here, we're going to start with this presentation about how you're going to prepare for this next tax season, given the challenges of COVID-19 and the possibility of shutdowns and things of that nature. Okay, so as we gear up for this new tax season, each of you individually will need to decide how and where you plan to work this year to keep yourself, your clients, and your employees safe. So in this presentation, we'll help you plan for any situation, whether you're working fully remotely, fully in person, or somewhere in between. So will you be remote? So going 100% remote may be the best option for your business if many of your clients prefer remote meetings or if you're concerned for your own health. If you choose to work fully remote this year, here's how you can set yourself up for success. The first thing is create a focused workspace. A lot of times when people start to work from home, the tendency is to sort of go, well, yeah, I can do this from the couch, or, I can do this someplace else. I can do this in the kitchen while I'm doing other things. My advice to you is avoid doing that as much as possible. Create a space in your home where you just simply work from that space, right? You're going to be far more likely to stay productive and focused in that environment than you are. If you're currently renting an office and think remote will be a long-term solution for you, you may want to consider cutting costs by foregoing your office in favor of a home office. That is something for you to consider. We do have customers all over the country, so that could be the reality for some people. Oh, let's go back. Okay. Ensure secure document sharing with clients. So with no in-person meetings, clients will need a way to share their tax documents. Scanning an email is an option, but it's tedious and leaves your clients open to security threats. The mobile app is going to be your best place for your clients to do that if they're going to be sharing documents with you. You may also consider looking at some kind of document sharing platform, ShareFile. There are platforms like that where there's secure client portals. And if you need some advice or some help on that, I'm actually putting together and having our team put together a list of some places for secure document sharing that will be better for you in the long run in terms of keeping your client information safe. Okay. Get familiar with video conferencing solutions. The tendency for people is they think if I'm working remotely that I can't go face to face with my clients. And I think 2020 has shown that that's just not true, right? So you want to make sure that you're comfortable in Zoom or another video conferencing software. Zoho Meetings is a great one that we use for one-on-one. Zoom tends to be for larger meetings. But either way, you want to be comfortable enough with it that you can offer your clients that solution to be able to speak with you directly, in a face-to-face way. If you're meeting clients in person, just remember that business as usual will look a little unusual this year. Set safety guidelines. If you haven't already done so, consider creating new policy to keep yourself and your clients safe. For example, you may consider requiring clients and employees to wear a mask in the office. Some states already have those mandates. Some counties already have those mandates. Make sure that you're sanitizing commonly touched surfaces, rearranging the furniture if you need to, so that you maintain that standard 6 feet social distance during meetings or in the waiting area. Um, you always want to keep up and obey state and local ordinances for small businesses. Okay. Communicate any safety procedures to your clients. This is the most important piece because you don't want to have to, you want to minimize the amount of quote unquote policing that you have to do inside your office. So communicate those things to your clients now. Uh, Emails, text message applications, put it on your website, put it on social media clients. Let your clients know how you're going to work. And so whether it's remotely or whether it's in office, but you also want to make sure that you explain what safety precautions are you're taking, that you're taking to ensure that your clients are safe if you are doing in office. So a hybrid is sort of in between. So most tax preparers will likely find themselves offering some combination of remote and in-person services. In addition to the tips above, you'll want to focus on staying organized as you balance the two different methods. So will you do a hybrid? Invest in remote desktop software application. Remote desktop application like Zoho Assist, Log Me In, Go to My PC, and TeamViewer will allow you to easily work from anywhere, whether that's at your home office or from another location. You'll be able to access your software in the office and get work done from anywhere with an internet access. Um, the one we recommend is Zoho Assist. They have an unattended remote desktop utility that will allow you to connect to your computer in the office. I would use those remote desktop software in temporary situations. If you feel like you're going to be out for a longer period of time. So let's say you start the year in office, and then you decide later that you want to hang on 1 second. Sorry, guys. You decide that you want to later join, or that you're going to be going, remotely because of county ordinances, city ordinances, things of that nature. I do want to stress to you guys the importance, though, of understanding what the CDC guidelines are for essential businesses. Because we do offer financial services, it is our company's opinion that we qualify as, or that you guys in particular, that tax offices all qualify as essential businesses because you provide financial services. I have a difficult time believing that that won't hold up in January and February, in particular when people need their taxes done in the most urgent way possible. So that's something to keep in mind. Uh, in addition to, um, some of you may know about this feature, some may not. So, in addition to having remote desktop software applications, we do have a software product, I'll say it that way, that's called tiered subsite, and that will allow you to do tax returns from your office or from your home or from another location using the same EFIN with a different installation. If so, if you want some more information about that, call in, contact, reach out to your sales rep. They can explain to you a little bit more about what those tiered subsite options are. I would also recommend that if you're a smaller office, maybe you're the only preparer in your office, I would recommend that you install the software to a laptop. This year in particular, you might have a desktop in your office, and that's fine. You can always use the remote support tools or remote desktop applications for those. But if you can, install it to a laptop that allows you to take it with you to and from. It'll make your life a lot easier in the long run if you do end up having to do a hybrid or go remotely fully. This is the other side. You want to automate wherever possible. So when you're taking meetings, both in person and remotely, scheduling and other tasks can be tricky. To stay organized and minimize stress, try to automate these tasks before tax season begins. Scheduling, client onboarding, document managers, few tasks that can be simplified with free and inexpensive software solutions. I recommend greatly if you are doing in office meetings this year, try to limit the number of walk-ins as much as possible. The reason for that is you don't want a bunch of people sitting in your office 2 feet from each other. You want to try to go as often as you can into a what's the word? I just lost the word. Goodness. Um, into a safe environment as much as possible. You want to have as many appointments as possible. There is an appointment scheduler inside the software. That's something that you can take advantage of, or you can use other ones online. I know Setmore, for example, is a free online scheduling tool that you can use that some of our clients do already use. Okay. All right, we're going to move right along. We're going to move into what's new with the software for 2021. Okay, so here's my standard disclaimer, which is the following list reflects changes for both the 1040 and business desktop software for the upcoming year. This list is as up to date as the date of this presentation. However, it is likely that more updates will occur before and after the tax season begins. That's just kind of the way it goes. Things change quickly in this industry, as you guys are well aware. One moment here. All right. So pay per returned remote signature is the biggest one. Hopefully you guys were made aware of this. This came out very late in the year. So starting with tax year 2020 returns, so not prior year returns, only current year moving forward. We will be charging for the use of the remote signature feature. You will need to log into your customer portal and in order to enable this feature and set up your wallet for payment. Contact your sales representative for more information. Now, I want to clarify a couple of things in here. First and foremost, we as SimpleTAX are not charging this fee. This fee is being charged by the software developer, and unfortunately, there's not a way around that. If you want to use remote signature, the fee is $5 per signature. I will show you guys in a minute, or when we get into the software, how you can set up the wallet through the software. But you do have to put a credit card on file. They will invoice you once a month for all of the remote signatures that you complete in that month. We fought this to the bitter end, and unfortunately, it's just not one that we were able to win. So, e-file amended returns. So in August, I believe it was, the IRS opened up amended returns. So you can now electronically file amended returns for tax years 2019 and 2020. It will only be 2019 moving forward. 2019 and 20, obviously moving forward. So business activities in both our 1040 and business program, we've increased the number of supported business activities to allow the entry of over 100 different business activities. TaxPass. So TaxPass has been expanded to include the following. There will be a TaxPass return count added to the work in progress screen. So the new count will now show the number of TaxPass returns that have not been imported. Not the total number of TaxPass returns, but only those that have not been imported. Remote signature. So through the app, you can now send documents requesting a remote signature directly through the app. Taxpayer will be able to view the documents within the tax app. Understand that the pay per remote signature does apply to the TaxPass app as well. TaxPass messaging. So you will now have the ability to send messages back and forth between TaxPass and your desktop software to easily communicate with your taxpayers. A couple of other changes here inside the software. We have added a previous and next button to the asset manager, allowing you to navigate quickly through the desired asset for review. So instead of having to close out the asset and then go in and open another asset, now you can just go to the next asset. Okay. When creating tax returns using the interview mode, you will notice that we have enhanced processes by adding the following pages. There's a return summary. There's filing options now. Bank application will be there as well inside the interview mode. The print menu. The following enhancements have been made to the print menu. Return components. We've added buttons to select and deselect all available printed forms for the specific return. So if you do file or if you do print return components, there's buttons to select and deselect all. Amended returns. The new function has been added when you select only the necessary amended federal and state forms will print. When transferring returns from the prior year, state prior year carryover information has been added as state pro forma. Deceased taxpayer spouse occurrence. So if the taxpayer or the deceased spouse is deceased taxpayer or spouse is in the prior year when the return converts, when you run the pro forma, when it carries forward, the living taxpayer moves to the first occurrence. So if it's the spouse and let's say the taxpayer is deceased, then it will move over to. Give me 1 second. All right, let's move on right along here. Client letters. So both the English and client letters have been enhanced. The preparer's name has been added to the default client letters. A federal amended acknowledgement letter is now available. A text message template is available to create a default message. That message will be displayed every time when utilizing the send text feature. So you can set a default text message in the client letter section now. We've added a new access level called Access Wallet Setup. If this access is enabled, it allows the user the ability to access the wallet setup to manage credit cards associated with the user ID EFIN. In the EF originators, now there's a field to enter the registered phone number of the EFIN. In the printer setup, after many requests, we now have engagement letters in the 1040 return printing menu. The printing of the engagement letters can now be toggled for the preparer and client print packets. You can now customize the print order of the tax returns. I know that was a request that we've had for a couple of years now. You can change the order in which the return prints out. In billing setup, disable invoice warning errors. This will give you a verify error. If you want to disable those, you can. PPR setting, this tab will show the federal and state paper return information that's configured for your user ID. You guys are not going to have to worry about that. We're not doing PPR returns except on business. Login accounts, a new login preference has been added to allow the users to automatically default prepare information on the 8879. So if enabled, the preparer listed on the prepare shortcut ID will be used. Also an office setup is the wallet setup. So we talked about that briefly. I'll show you guys that in a minute. When you're doing payments, there's an option for Cash App as one of the payment types. Extended reports. So we've added some new extended reports. Remote signatures, you can run a pending or a completed. You can do a total on remote signature count. This will help you reconcile with what you're invoiced for on remote signature. We also have 1040 amendment act codes, e-filed, and then the taxpayer occupation. So here's some new forms. I'm actually going to skip probably this slide for here. I'm going to show it to you when we do the tax, but when we do the tax law updates, which is next. I'm going to show you. I'll go over these real quick. 8275. This new form can be sent with a return to the IRS to disclose items or position that are not adequately disclosed in the tax return to avoid certain penalties. 1099 NEC, that's where non-employee compensation goes now. I'll explain that when we get into tax law. The 7202 is the form for self-employed individuals claiming qualified sick leave or family leave. We'll cover that as well. Schedule LEP. This is a new form used so that taxpayers can decide how they want the IRS to respond to them and in what language. In the business program enhancements, we have there's some quick reports now, acknowledgement letters, return lookups. You can add the date. There's a list of the list of non-returning clients has been added to the business utilities. It's already there in the 1040 side, but it has been added to business. New forms, the 1120F, which is a foreign corporation, 990T. This form is intended to provide the government and interested members of the public with a snapshot of the organization's activities for this year. This form is available for electronic filing now as well. All right, so we're going to move in here pretty quickly. We're going to jump into tax law updates. So this course is as current as it can be. The IRS is going to send out guidance, so some of these things are still going to change, especially given we are still waiting on a second round of stimulus possibility from Congress. So this could all change. We could have a whole new set of things even before the end of the year. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about federal tax law changes that you need to know about, extended provisions that are still in effect, the latest on ITINs, IPPINs, PTINs, federal forms available in Spanish, additional changes of note, and then other federal tax law changes that you should know about. So we're going to talk about the recovery rebate credit. There's a lot of sort of misinformation that's going on about this, and so we need to be really clear on this. So under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which is the CARES Act, most Americans will or have received direct economic recovery rebate payments of $1,200, $2,400 for couples filing jointly, plus $500 more for each child under the age of 17. The payments phased out for joint filers with an AGI above 150,000, head of household filers with an AGI over 112.5, and single filers with AGIs over 75%. Now, technically, the rebate is an advance payment of a special 2020 tax credit. You'll reconcile their rebate on their 2020 tax return. For most people, the rebate will equal the tax credit allowed. Taxpayers whose credit exceed their rebates can claim the balance on their 2020 returns. We expect they won't have to repay the IRS if you got more than your credit. We have no reason to believe that you would have to repay. There's no language in the bill that indicates that. I'm going to show you guys how you reconcile that inside the software in just a moment. Okay. So it's the refundable credit for taxpayers who did not receive the full economic impact payment EIP in 2020. So this is reconciled off of line 30 on Form 1040. The calculation is done on a worksheet. The calculation is based on taxpayers' 2020 income, filing status, and number of eligible children. The calculated credit is then reconciled with the payment received. You will have to enter what the payment that they got was. Okay. And in particular, whether they got the payment or not. If their payment was withheld because they had back child support, they got the payment, whether they physically received the payment or not. And I'll explain when I show you guys what line 30. Okay. So taxpayers in the following circumstances will have a refundable credit on their 2020 return. Taxpayers did not receive any economic stimulus payment, or the economic stimulus payment was limited based on their income in 2018 or 2019, and 2020 was below the income limit. The taxpayer did not receive payment for their eligible children. Now, for the vast majority of taxpayers, this credit will be calculated as zero since they received their full economic stimulus payment during 2020. Okay. Charitable contributions. So a taxpayer may deduct up to $300 as an adjustment to their income on their 2020 federal return if claiming the standard deduction. So this is line 10B on the 1040, and the maximum deduction is $300 per return, regardless of their filing status. Payroll tax, the Social Security portion. So this permitted employers and self-employed individuals to delay paying the 6.2% employer share of the Social Security tax between March 27th and December 31st. Any deferred tax will need to be paid during the following 2 years, with half of it paid by the end of 2021 and the other half paid by the end of 2022. Now, for individuals, this will be calculated on the Schedule SC or Schedule H. On Schedule SC, the calculation needs to be done in Part 3. So here's some changes to IRA. Beginning in 2020, taxpayers may contribute to an IRA after they reached age 70 and a half, if their bank allows. Required distribution must now begin when the taxpayer reaches age 72 for taxpayers that turn 70 and a half after 2019. Before this change, it was when they reached age 70 and a half. Distributions of up to $5,000 that are used for childbirth or adoption will not be subject to the 10% early withdrawal penalty. Similar to the retirement provisions for federally declared disasters, for distributions that are related to COVID-19, an individual may withdraw up to $100,000 free of the 10% early withdrawal penalty and spread the taxable portion over 3 years. The withdrawal will not be taxable if the distribution is recontributed within 3 years. The maximum loan amount for COVID-19 purposes is $100,000. So the credit for sick leave and family leave for certain self-employed individuals. So this allows self-employed individuals affected by the pandemic to claim a credit for any time they were unable to work because they had coronavirus, or they needed to care for someone else who has coronavirus. This is a credit for sick leave and family leave for these individuals. Now, this does not apply to people who are not able to work because of shutdowns for coronavirus. This only applies to whether they themselves had coronavirus or they needed to care for someone else who has had coronavirus. I'm sorry. Credit is calculated on the new Form 7202. We talked about that earlier. Amount from this new form transfers to Form 1040, Schedule 3, line 12B. So these are extended provisions that are set to expire at the end of 2020. So these are not necessarily things that are going to affect your customers for tax year 2020, but they will affect them in tax year 2021. So it may be a good idea to set the table now, set the expectation now for them. Tuition and fees deduction will expire at the end of 2020. Exclusions from income of a foreclosed home. So Form 982, line 1E. The medical expense deduction floor remains at 7.5%. The ability to treat mortgage insurance premium as qualified mortgage interest. There are additional business and energy related provisions still in effect for 2020. For a full list of these provisions, see the 2019 publication 17, pages 1 and 2, where it says impact of new legislation. Expiration of ITINs. At the end of 2020, ITINs with the following middle digits will expire and must be renewed. 88, 90 through 99 that were issued before 2013 and have still not been renewed. So 90 through 99 that were issued before 2013 and have not been renewed. Okay. Any ITIN that has not been used in the past 3 years. So if it wasn't used in tax year 17, 18, and 19, they will expire. This will be the last year that ITINs issued before 2013 need to be renewed. PTINs. All preparers must still renew and obtain a PTIN. The renewal period for 2021 began in mid-October. There's now an IRS fee of $35.95 to renew or obtain your PTIN. Yes, you have to have a PTIN. Yes, it has to be valid, and there is a fee of $35.95. Identity protection pins. So beginning January 2021, any taxpayer may request an IP pin through the Get an IP pin tool on the IRS website. If you're not familiar with this tool, I encourage you to go look, make yourself familiar with it, because you're going to have some clients that may need this. So if an individual cannot get through the secure access process, they will need to do the following. If their AGI is less than 72,000 on their most recently filed federal return, complete new form 1522-7 and mail it to the IRS. An IRS assessor will then call the individual and verify their identity. Once verified, the taxpayer will receive an IP PIN near the end of 2021, which they will use on their 2021 federal tax return next season. If their AGI is over 72,000, they need to call the IRS, make an appointment with the Taxpayer Assistance Center, and authenticate themselves in person. Once authenticated, the taxpayer will receive an IP PIN in the mail within 3 weeks, which is good for use for their filing of their 2020 federal tax return. The IRS has added Spanish versions of the forms, or of the following forms for tax year 2020. So the 1040, 1040/1040SR, and schedules 1 through 3, the 8812 schedule EIC, Form 1040 and Schedule 8812 instructions are also available in Spanish. You will have the option to print these form, or print the Form 1040 and Schedules 1 through 3 in Spanish from within the software, so that you can print the 1040 in Spanish now. 1040 or Form 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation is reported on this new form. It was previously reported on the 1099 miscellaneous. Many states will require this form to be filed with their return. So I know I'll get this question, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it now. If they had a 1099 miscellaneous in the prior year that had non-employee compensation, when you run the pro forma or carry forward, it will convert it to a 1099 NEC. Okay, so you won't have to re-enter the 1099 NEC. It should convert that information over, but you're going to be looking for your customers to have a 1099 NEC if they have non-employee compensation, not a 1099 miscellaneous. The health insurance mandate penalty. There is no penalty for not having health insurance at the federal level. However, there are provisions in California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Washington, D.C. that do have penalties for not having health insurance. Schedule LEP. All right. New for tax year 2020. This allows taxpayers to indicate a preference for what language other than English they wish to receive written communications from the IRS. Now, there is no guarantee that the taxpayer will receive communications in that preferred language immediately. For this first year, the IRS will use information from this form to determine the order that additional languages will be implemented. This is almost, I would consider this first year sort of as a survey. Okay. So we talked about the 1040X e-file. The IRS began to allow amended federal returns to be filed this past August. Okay, so for filing season 2021, you may file amended returns electronically for tax years 20 and 19, in which the original return was filed electronically. If they paper filed it, you cannot e-file their 1040X. The 1040 NR has been redesigned to be similar to the layout of the Form 1040 and will now use schedules 1, 2, and 3. So that 1040 NR is going to look very similar to the Form 1040. Quality improvement property. So these are some other federal tax law changes. So there's a technical correction for depreciating improvements made to buildings. allows the property now to be depreciated over 15 years and makes it eligible for bonus depreciation. Changes to NOL or net operating losses. Losses that occurred in 2018, 19, or 20 can be carried back 5 years. These losses can fully offset income in prior years, applicable to both individuals and corporations. Charitable contributions. The 50% AGI limit is suspended for 2020. Changes to business insurance limitations. So in 2019 and 2020, the interest deduction for businesses is increased to 50% of the taxable income. It was 30% and will be again after December 31st of 2020. So that 50%, that 50% interest deduction will drop back down to 30 after 2020. Employee retention credit. So eligible employers may take a refundable payroll tax credit to equal 50% of the qualified wages paid to employees from March through December 20th. Through December of 2020. For more information, see the IRS website. Look for the FAQs where it says employee retention credit. Virtual currency question. So the following question is now on Form 1040, page 1. At any time during 2020, did you receive, sell, send, exchange, or otherwise acquire any financial interest in any virtual currency? By virtual currency, what they mean specifically is things like Bitcoin. Okay. The question is to help educate taxpayers on the tax consequences of engaging in virtual currency transactions. One of the consequences of using virtual currency is that if a taxpayer uses virtual currency to buy something, the IRS considers this a sale of a capital asset and must be reported on a Schedule D. Also, if a taxpayer receives virtual currency, it may be considered income. If it is for compensation for services performed for someone, it must be reported as income on the tax return. Information on virtual currencies can be found on the IRS website by searching for virtual currencies, the virtual currencies page, or frequently asked questions on virtual currency transactions. All taxpayers should answer this question. This year, the question will appear on all returns. Last year, it was on Schedule 1 and only appeared on the printed form if the taxpayer answered yes of Schedule 1, answered yes, or Schedule 1 had other amounts on it. So this is a required field inside the software, so you will have to ask your customer this. These are the 2020 tax brackets. Honestly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through these. They were adjusted for inflation. The adjustments in the tax bracket has been minimal at best. Okay, same thing with standard deduction. Standard deduction went up about $400 a person, give or take. EIC, qualifying children claims. So here is the tax credit income amounts and then the maximum credit amounts. So there's your income limits. So before you call into support, make sure that they're under these income limits. That's a question that we get often is, why isn't this person qualifying for EIC? A lot of times it's because they made too much money. So check that. The maximum credit. So I'll tell you this, for marketing purposes, that number you want is 6,660. You can use that in your marketing, but make sure that you stay up to 6,660. If you don't, it's considered misleading and you can and probably will get fined by the IRS. So before we move into the software, I'm going to open it up to a couple of questions here, and then we can, I'm going to stop the share. So I'm going to open it up to a couple of questions. If you need to, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask questions, and then we're going to take maybe a 5-minute break, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Just get up, walk around, stretch your legs. I threw a lot of information at you guys relatively quickly. The session will stay open, so you don't have to close or come back or anything. We will just come back to it.
Once this meeting is over, will we be able to go back and look at this information?
Yes, we will post this meeting. The meeting is being recorded, so it will get posted to our YouTube channel, and we'll make sure that you guys are aware where it is.
Thank you.
Someone asked in the chat if I could find it. I don't know what happened to the chat. I really don't know what happened to it. That's weird. Someone had asked in the chat if we were, if the presentations, the presentations, we will put them into PDF form, and they will be available on the SimpleTAX support.com website under SimpleTAX Sim 40 documents. I will make sure that those are there. Someone asks, will we have a tutorial on doing the software? Yes, that's what I'm going to do next. We also have, for those of you that are not aware, we also have the SimpleTAX University website has we have an e-learning course that will be there. All right, let's go ahead and take maybe, let's be back in about 5 minutes or so. Take a little break, and then we'll come back, and we're going to dive into the software at that point. So I'll show you guys what's new inside the software, how things look, how things are going to operate. And then we'll open it up to any kind of questions in there. I want to show you guys what's new in terms of the required fields and those kinds of things. All right. So we're going to jump back into the software here. So the software looks the same as it always does. There's not really anything new on this end, on the front end, in the work in progress, except this tax pass messages button. This will let you reply and view messages that are sent to your office via the tax pass. Now I'm going to go into a return quickly and show you. Before I do that, let me show you where, if you need to make a modification to the wallet, you can change it in setup and then wallet setup. And this will take you right back into the page. The page will open, and then you'll be able to make the adjustments on this wallet setup here. Okay. I'm going to go into my little test return here so I can show you guys some of the things that have changed that we now have to do. Give me 1 second here. I apologize for that. Okay, so a couple of the new changes inside here. First is down here on the client data sheet. That's where the Protection Plus enrollment is, and also the remote signature. So you have to get their consent to do this, because it is going to charge them, there is a $5 fee for each of these. So you'll go in here, you mark that yes, and that would enable then the remote signature option when you print. Okay. The other thing is on the 1040, we now have this question here. So I'm going to clear this so that you guys can see that it does create a verify error. So when we go to verify, you must either check yes or no. So you do have to answer this question. It is now a required field. And this is the question about virtual currency that we talked about earlier. Okay, so see, now I have nothing. So if we go down, here's the 10B for the charitable contributions. If you're taking the standard deduction, you would just enter the max is 300. Okay. That's if they have charitable contributions up to $300 or over $300, and they're taking the standard deduction, you would use 10B. They're itemizing, that still goes back over to Schedule 1, line 22. Okay. Now we're going to go down into this recovery rebate credit. You'll see that this is a calculated field. You'll go to worksheets off of line 30. All right. And right here on line 13, that's where you're going to enter the amount that they received in the stimulus payment. I cannot stress this enough. And this, they need to enter the amount that is on the notice 1444. Okay. They've got to enter that amount. That is the amount of the stimulus that was paid to them, whether they received it or not. The other thing is, inside here, I would encourage you to really press your customers and make sure, your taxpayers, that they are being honest with you about the amount that they've received. We do not know what will happen if the IRS says, no, they got this. They got the recovery payment. We don't know if the IRS is just going to take it out and then fund it, or if the IRS is going to send a letter, or if they're going to kick this thing into error recovery, which is going to delay their refund. My almost 20 years of experience says they're going to kick this into error recovery, and error recovery is going to initiate a letter to the taxpayer about the recovery rebate, and it's going to delay them actually getting their tax refund. So I would advise you to let them know that if they don't give you the correct amount, that it could delay their refund. You want to set that precedent early. You want to make sure that they are fully aware of that ahead of time, because if they're not, they're going to be upset with you when the time comes. Okay. So as far as everything else inside the software, it's all pretty much the same. There really hasn't been any sweeping overall changes to the software in that regard. The TaxPass mobile app, we expect to see an increase in the usage of that, which is why we have the TaxPass messages function. That's why we have the TaxPass mobile app retrieval, which will list, you can download documents, those kinds of things. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start a new return. So we do add new. We're just going to use a generic social here. We're going to hit OK. So once this loads, it's all the same as we've seen before. You're going to go DOB. You're going to go name. You're going to go occupation. And then the phone numbers. All right. Email addresses. I encourage you to get as many email addresses from your customers as possible this year. Having as many ways as possible to contact your customer is always going to be a good idea. All right. So if they're agreeing to get text messages or remote signature, you want to make sure that you hit this text message, and that you do inform them that message frequency varies by office, message and data rates apply. They can text stop to opt out, or help for help. They can review the terms and conditions and the privacy policy. So once the customer understands that, you check the box, you hit OK. All right. You can choose their preferred contact method. Again, I think these things are valuable pieces of information, because it tells you how to contact your customer and in what language. So in this particular case, I'm just going to put English. All right. If they have an identity protection pin, you're going to enter that here. You want to get their driver's license information if at all possible. You want to put what state, the issue date, and then the expiration date. All right. You also want to make sure in this little box here that you have the type. Then you're going to go down to filing status, and down here in the bottom in this gray bar will always show you what that field is looking for. So we're going to go ahead of household for this particular taxpayer. And you see when I hit the tab key, it skips that spouse information automatically, takes you right down to the address. Zip code database is there as well. So once you type in the zip code, it'll give you the city and state. If they give you a bank account, if they give you bank information, enter it here. You can't always pull this information from here, just like the ID when you do the bank application. Okay. If you're setting up a referral program, you can do this in the referral type. You can set up database and then referrals. You could type in a sequence number, which could be anything. So let's just say text. I ran a text program, whatever the case may be. Sorry, that's a 3-digit. So you do 100. Then you do add and you type in what the referral is. So let's just say a text message. This will let you be able to track where customers are coming from and what marketing is working. If you ask them, how did you hear about us? You can enter that information right here. You can click choices. That choices give you that option. You can type in the description of which, maybe you have multiple text messages. You can enter which one, holiday promo, whatever, right? Then you go down into the marketplace health insurance. Now you should only check this box if the taxpayer or any other family member on the return purchased health insurance through the marketplace. Mark the box and then do the questionnaire. If they received any other forms, they're informational. The 1099B, the 1090 or the 1095B rather, and the 1095C, those are for informational only, so you won't need those. You could need them for some states, but they'll ask you specifically on those state forms. All right, so we're going to add our dependent. All right, you want to put in their social. You want to put in the relationship. Now, you can do that from choices, or you can start typing and it'll pre-fill. You want to put the number of months that the dependent lived with the taxpayer. If they qualify for EIC off the bat, it's off of the general conditions, it will find it. Same thing for child tax credit, or for child tax credit here. If you need more space than the number of dependents that are here, so if you have more dependents than what you have listed here, click worksheets. It will open a place and you can continue to add. And as you add more spaces will become available. Okay, so now that we've completed that, we're going to go down to this Enroll in Protection Plus. And in this particular customer, we're going to go ahead and say, yeah, they need it. And then they want remote signature. Okay. So we save. We've done everything. You see the recovery rebate credit worksheet opens automatically. 8867 added automatically. So the next step for us is going to be adding income. So we're going to add a quick W-2 here. We're going to use the choices to find that employer that I already had. We're going to put in some wages here. We're going to put in the federal tax withheld of $3,000. Now, if we refresh, you'll see they're getting a refund of $4,393 based on everything that it's calculated automatically. Now, it will not calculate the recovery rebate credit until you enter an amount or until you complete that worksheet. So you won't run the risk of maybe overselling what their refund amount is prior to actually completing the worksheet. Okay. My recommendation for everyone is that you do not give a taxpayer a refund amount until you verify successfully everything that goes through. Okay. We're also going to add the new form, the 1099 NEC for non-employee compensation. So right here, you see now it's in box 1. Okay. We're going to do 5,000 in here. And then you choose where you want to link it. You can do that from choices. So in this particular case, I'm going to do a new Schedule C. I'm going to hit OK. So now when I do this, it gives me a Schedule C. right, so up here, you're going to choose who the payer's name is. I'm just going to choose that one. And if they had federal income tax withheld, that would go from box 4. If they have state, that would go in there as well. All right, so now we're going to jump over to this Schedule C and we're going to take a look at some of the things that are here. So you want to enter the principal business or profession, and then you're going to choose this business code. Now you have a choices box here that will give you all kinds of things. The other option is to type into this description box what it is, and it'll kind of give you an idea. So if I do paint, okay, so painting a wall, perfect. That's what I want to do. So if you want to copy this as the business address, just check that box. It'll pull the address from the state or from the client data sheet rather. The next place that you have to go down to is determine the accounting method. Most of your customers are cash. Your customers that are accrual are going to tell you they know. Other would be a mix of one of the two. You want to, it's defaulted to yes, but you want to make sure that they did materially participate in the business. You want to find out whether or not they started the business in 2020. You want to make sure that you know if they had any payments that required them to file Forms 1099. If so, did they file all those forms? Now you're going to go down to this qualified business income. Now, you want to know if this is a qualified trade or if it's a specified service trade or if it's not eligible for QBI or the qualified business income. This particular case, I'm going to mark it as a service. And then there's other questions down here. Did they dispose of it? Did they have a priority on a loss? Or they administer those kinds of things? So when we go down into part 1, you'll see that the 1099 NEC is already pulling automatically over, right? So we're going to say that. And then we have the expenses, right? So these light blue fields, you can just type in. We're going to get to box 9 here, this car and truck worksheet. We're going to look at the allocation. I'm going to show you guys. So we're going to do mileage on this vehicle, and that's going to go down here into part 4. If you've got a variety of vehicles, there is a worksheet here. It carries up to 4, I believe. So you're going to put the date when the vehicle is placed in business service. I cannot stress this enough. I do not recommend putting in the same date every year. I.e., if this car or truck was put into service of the business in 2017, put in 1/1/2017, not 1/1/2020. It doesn't change the calculation any for you to do the current year or the current tax year in here, but it may, if you start working, if your taxpayer gets audited, they may look at that date and go, well, you're saying that you bought a new car every year if you've been doing this for 3 years. That's how the IRS may view it. So I recommend using the actual date when the vehicle was first placed in service for the business. Okay. Now you're going to enter the total business miles. In this case, we're just going to say, we'll just do 3,800. He doesn't have a ton of them. All right. You want to put in commuting and other uses if you know those, if you have those. You want to answer these questions on 45, 46, 47, and 47A, 47B. Yes, yes. Yes, I have evidence. Yes, it is written. Okay. Now, when we go up, you'll see it's calculated the car and truck expenses automatically as far as the mileage goes. Okay. If you want to do depreciation, it tells you 4560 depreciation for the asset manager. So if we go on this left-hand side to depreciation, you want to choose the Schedule C. You want to do new asset. You want to give that asset a name. I'm trying to think. We'll just do this. Again, you want to use the correct date placed in service. If I bought it this year, then it's placed in service this year. And then you have all of these options, right? All of these things inside here. So we're just going to call this software. We're going to use this computer software. Okay. So you hit OK. Then you're going to enter the amount of the software. So let's say it's 15,000. Let's do 1,500. All right. When you go to the depreciation, it's not going to calculate anything because you have to go through this bonus depreciation section and determine. Now, in this particular case, we're going to give those are the opt-outs for the depreciation. So if we opt out, for example, then you'll see that we're going to get the depreciation. Otherwise, you're going to get the full amounts. And it's going to come up here in this basis, the bonus depreciation, if you have it as a listed property. There's a couple of different options inside here. You just want to make sure that you're choosing the right ones for your customer. Okay, so once you've done that, though, if you notice right here, now we have the previous and next button. So if I have multiple, I don't have to close, go back to the list, and then double click. All right, so in this particular case, we're going to go back and we're going to opt out so that we can show that depreciation. So a bonus, we're going to opt out of the special. Done. Close. So when we return back to the list, you'll see the depreciation shows up as $250, right? So we're done there. So we've got through that Schedule C, we've got through the depreciation piece. So what's next? Well, I'm not sure. So let's hit verify and let's see what's missing. All right, on the client data sheet, we're missing some information. Now, I brought this up because this is a new required field. You do need to mark on this information and status page at the very bottom that you have received the signed 8879. That has to be marked before you can file the return. So a couple of other things that I need to do real quick. I'm going to set this prep ID and I'm going to set this EFIN, but that information for you guys should be auto-filled. Mine wasn't set up that way. So let's go look now. See, we have all of these things that need to be filled out. So let's go look at So we'll go through this list. Now, this is the fastest and easiest way to go through your verify errors. Okay. So we're going to answer no to this question, which is the currency question, the virtual currency question. And then if you hit enter, it'll bring it up and you can hit enter and it'll take you to the next page. So in this particular case, I'm going to say I only got 1,200. I didn't get the 500 for my dependent. Now we go to EIC. See how much faster this is. Enter, select, enter, and it'll take you where you need to go. And I encourage you guys to watch our YouTube video on due diligence in EIC. It is out there already. And it goes through this 8867 that's in here. Oops. Actually, I want to close that because I did that wrong. So let's run back this verify. That's where we were. And at household, we're going to do separation agreements. All right. And then let's go back to this client data because I think I answered yes. Yeah. So now we're down to these last three, right? So we got one on the client data, which is I didn't select the cell phone carrier. So we'll click choices. We'll choose AT&T. All right. We're going to verify again. Now we're at the 8879. I can't show you the bank application because this is 2021 software. The bank application hasn't been loaded yet. Bank applications will not be pushed out down to you guys until January 1st or January 2nd. My understanding is the banks will begin accepting the pre-ac advances January 2nd, which means support will be open. It also means that the filing centers will be accepting returns. So we're going to do this one. For one, pay attention to these warnings. This tells you that you must collect your prep fee up front, and the IRS will send the refund directly to the taxpayer. Okay. So the next step then would be to go to print, which I can't show you. We're going to get an error, but you go print final tax return, and then they're going to sign everything that needs to be signed. For now, you guys are going to get this message. Once printing will be enabled again on January 1st or January 2nd. I don't have an exact date yet, but I'm assuming it'll be January 1st. So in this particular case, we're going to go ahead and say, yes, we did get the 8879 signed. Now we have nothing more. And we can queue. And that's what you do. You click queue and you send it through that way. If you want to send them a text message, you click there, you enter your text message, and you send that over. So pretty simple kind of walkthrough. Again, I think most of our customers, most of you guys have used this software repeatedly. So I don't think you're going to struggle too much with it. Here's in the filing options, you can see what options are available, the audit protection as well. You can see all the terms and conditions, and all of this will print when you print the final tax return for the client. So I'm going to open this up again to some questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Well, I'll leave it open. I'll leave the share open. So if you guys have questions, okay, I guess I am going to stop. I'll stop the share for right now. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have today. If you're not sure how to unmute yourself, you can always use the chat as well.
When will the software be available?
We are planning to release software within the next couple of hours. So this afternoon, we'll have software emails go out. So yeah, be sure to keep an eye on your email. Software emails will go out. Our support team is ready to assist you in any way that we can once we've released software.
Okay.
That's an excellent question. As far as the IRS, we don't have a live start date for them yet. We haven't been getting that, honestly, until January. So that's one of those things. Okay, so someone's asked, can we print out the presentations? Yes, the presentations will be uploaded to the documents section of the SimpleTAX support SimpleTAX 1040. So if you go to simpletaxsupport.com, click on SimpleTAX 1040 documents, all of the presentations will be posted up there later today. You can download and print those at your will. Someone asked, can you show us in the estimates where I put the amount of the recovery rebate credit? Let me share this screen. Give me 1 second. We'll go back to the estimates. So in the refund calculator, I think is what you're asking about. So let me go back and share this screen. So here's the refund calculator. So we're just going to this is a quick little way for you to do sort of an estimate. I'm trying to see exactly where it is. It should be here. Oh, you know what? That's a great question, Luis. It isn't here. I would have thought that it would have showed up in this credits section. So it may be something that we're still that we're still working on. So I don't want to say with any level of certainty that it's not going to be there, but currently it isn't. And I will have someone on our team write this up so we can make sure that it does get added into there, because that is a great point. It does need to be there as far as that goes. Let me double check just to be sure if I put in wages. It may be one of those conditional things. But I don't think it is. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it doesn't even show up on this line. I can show you where it is, inside the return, where you reconcile that as well. So we'll go look at that just to go back through it. To reconcile it, there's this recovery rebate credit worksheet, and you will enter that information down on line 13. So yeah, I don't see it in the estimator, but I'm definitely gonna write that up and we'll get it added into there. So that's a great question. All right. Does anybody else have a question?
I want to go back to something that you said about taxpayers who owe child support.
Yes.
I've had a couple of people that did owe for child support, but they didn't necessarily get a letter.
Everyone who they should have gotten a letter and it would have been sent, because every EIP stimulus payment that was made was sent with the IRS notification of it's 1444. They would have received that, or it would have been sent. Now, whether they received it or not is another discussion. They can always check with I believe they can check with FMS or the Treasury Department. Let me see if I can show you what this letter looked like. Here's the bigger problem. I think a lot of people got rid of it. They didn't keep it.
That's what I think too.
And that's where you're just going to have to count on them, for lack of a better phrase. You're going to have to count on them to be honest, because if they're not, they're only hurting themselves. So let me show you what this EIP letter looked like. So this is what it looked like. And it tells them to keep this. So this is what the 1444 looked like. Initially, I want to say there's a second one, and I'm trying to remember. This was the first letter, I think. Yeah, I think there was another one. I can't remember which one it is. Hang on one second. Let's see. Yeah, there was another. I was trying to see if somebody had an actual copy of it. Most people aren't sharing that out, but they would. I know I got it, and I just I didn't. I should have scanned it. But it's the letter that tells them how much they qualified for, and what they would have gotten. So if they didn't get it, you almost have to go with what they got or what they qualified for. The other thing, I believe, I don't know if it'll still be up in 2021, but you may be able to check the status of it from the IRS website. At least you used to be able to. So that's a good question as well. Again, it's really going to boil down to people sort of just being honest about whether or not they got it. Unfortunately, if anybody remembers what did they call it? The stimulus checks from, what was that, 2010? think it was 2010. The $500 check that got sent to everybody.
Yes.
It's my understanding is this is going to be handled exactly the same way. And I know that year, if they claimed the credit on their tax return and they had already gotten paid out that credit, the IRS held it. They held the returns, and we had a lot of delayed returns that year.
Okay.
Hang on, let me go back here. Somebody asked what time frame. Hang on one second. I got a few questions coming in at the same time. Okay, so somebody was asking, hang on. All right, Alfred, I got your question. I'm going to show you. So, Alfred asked, can you demonstrate how to collect a new form, W-2, electronically and add that data to the taxpayer's return? So you have a couple of different options in terms of how you attach forms, as far as copies of forms to returns. In the document archive, you have the function to scan, or you can import. Import allows you to take it from anywhere else. Now, if they're using the mobile app, for example, they can. I don't have a W-2, but you can attach. You can legitimately attach any form you want in here. So if I wanted to just open this and attach this, I could do that. You can import. If you have the scanner, you can just hit scan and then hit snap, and it'll take that picture. I don't have a scanner installed on mine. It'll take a picture of that image. All right. If that W-2 has a 2D barcode, you go to scan barcode forms, and you just scan the barcode with the barcode reader, and it'll pop in here and generate the W-2 for you automatically. The other, if you're using the TaxPass mobile app and they submit documents through the mobile app, those will come into the document archive by default. Same thing if they sign their documents via remote signature. If they sign via remote signature, it will show in the document archive. When you send a remote signature, you're actually going to have two requests. In document archive, you're going to have the blank request that without the signature, and then you'll have the signed documents, and it will identify them as the signed documents. All right, I'm trying to catch up on the chat here. I do not know. Someone asked, do you know what time frame those letters were sent out to taxpayers? I don't. My understanding was it was, I believe, once the first check started going out. So it would have been a few months ago. Yes, we are adding the recovery rebate to the tax estimator, Luis. That's yeah, I'm going to add that into there. Okay, someone asked, is the 1099 miscellaneous the same as the 1099 NEC? No, it is not. The 1099 miscellaneous still exists. It's exactly the same. The difference is box 7 now is limited, has changed. So on the 1099 miscellaneous, box 7 now is linked to direct sales of 5,000 or more of consumer products for resale. That used to be the non-employee compensation box. The non-employee compensation box has now been stripped out of the 1099 miscellaneous, and they have created a 1099 NEC for non-employee compensation. Now, the 1099 NEC, like the 1099 miscellaneous and a W-2, sorry, the 1099 NEC, like the W-2, like the 1099 miscellaneous, is going to be what your taxpayer brings to you. So they will bring you a 1099 NEC, and you will complete it the same way you complete a 1099 miscellaneous or W-2, exactly as it appears. Okay. Someone asked, why don't we have Texas forms in the state form choices? Because Texas doesn't have income tax. There are no Texas forms for income tax. So there wouldn't be any state forms for Texas. Washington, New Hampshire, Wyoming. I think there's 5 states, and I can't. Florida, Texas, Washington, New Hampshire, and there's one more. I can't remember what it is. New York has state income tax. I know somebody had said New York. New York does have state income tax, and you have to actually be registered. I think Margaret might be right. I think it might be Tennessee. I have to. I know New Hampshire doesn't because I was looking at moving there. I'm trying to go to the Northeast. Okay, so somebody asked about the TaxPass mobile app. Let me pull this video because I can't show you the mobile app in the same place. So let me see if I can sort of give you a video overview of what the TaxPass mobile app does. And this video, so you guys know, is available on the this will work. Is available on the SimpleTAX support YouTube channel. So I'm going to launch this video real quick and we're going to let it play. Give me 1 second. I want to share. That one. Proudly presenting our TaxPass mobile app for SimpleTAX 1040. TaxPass is designed to assist in every stage of tax preparation, streamlining the collection of taxpayer information, starting a tax return, collecting taxpayer documents, capturing signatures, all the way to the tax refund. Experience the ultimate level of convenience this upcoming tax season. Gathering your taxpayers' personal information and starting a new return has never been easier. Instead of requiring your customers to visit your tax office, they can download the TaxPass app on their mobile device to start a new return and submit their information to you in minutes. They can even scan the barcode on their driver's license to populate information on the client data. Once submitted, you'll be notified in the software of the new tax return. From the work in progress summary, you will see the link to retrieve the mobile app tax return. Click the link to access the return list. Double-click the return to retrieve that tax return. The client data sheet will be filled out with the information from the TaxPass app. Taxpayers can upload their identification and tax documents too. Documents will appear inside the return in the document archive. From inside the tax return, select Document Archive to see the documents. With remote signature, you can request taxpayer and spouse signatures through the TaxPass app. From the print window, click Remote Sign to send a remote signature request. Taxpayers can sign the tax return and the bank documents. After reviewing a PDF copy of the documents, the taxpayer can sign on the mobile device. From the Work in Progress screen, you can keep track of pending and completed remote signatures. Taxpayers can check the status of the refund using TaxPass. Direct messaging between taxpayers and your office simplifies communication. Taxpayers can get your office information, get directions, or even request a ride using their favorite service. The TaxPass app can also be branded with your logo. To brand the app, log into the customer portal. Click Support, then Mobile App Management. The QR code will create automatically. To brand the app with your logo, click Upload Logo. Logos must be 1200 pixels by 400 pixels. Select the logo file, click Open, then click Upload. You will see your logo under the QR code now. This is your QR code, and this is your mobile app ID. To save the QR code for use in marketing, right-click and select Save Image, or read the instructions below the mobile app ID. All right, so that was a quick little video there on the TaxPass mobile app. Again, that video is available along with quite a few other videos on the SimpleTAX Support YouTube page, which you can get to from the simpletaxsupport.com website. The states with no income tax are Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. New Hampshire and Tennessee don't tax earned income, but they do have investment income taxes. So there you go. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? I think this is the most people I've ever had in training. There are over 30 of us in here. So let's see. Somebody asked, when you say attach stocks to the return, how is that done? That's it, it's imported. So from the TaxPass mobile app, what you're doing essentially is the return itself. When they use the TaxPass mobile app, it creates a return file. That return file is stored in the filing center, and then when you transmit or you connect to the filing center, it picks up that return, and you can actually import it in the software by clicking on the TaxPass mobile app retrieval link in the from the work in progress summary, and you can actually import it. When you import it, it imports all of that data from the client data sheet, dependents, W-2s, ID information, as well as any documents that they uploaded. Those are imported into the return, and they show up in the document archive. Kyra, can you give me more? You're saying it will it automatically link your, and it seemed like we missed the rest of the question. Yes, the signature pads still work inside the software, and there's no fee if you're using the signature pads. There's only a fee if you use remote signature. I think Kyra's question was related to the TaxPass mobile app. So if we're talking about the TaxPass mobile app, the customer, there's not a sync between the two. So if you update information, for example, in the return, they don't see everything in the mobile app. It's not a one-to-one. They're submitting information to you. Once they submit that information, they can see it, but if they modify it in any way, it's locked. They won't be able to modify it on their end, and if you change it on your end, it doesn't update on theirs. Really, it's sort of like filling out a form on a website. Once they submit it to you, everything is sort of locked to it. They can add additional documents or they can sign documents, but they can't change the core information that's on there. Now, as far as linking the TaxPass mobile app to your office, that's what you want to use the code for. They can either they can use the TaxPass mobile app and scan that QR code, or they can enter that mobile app ID that you can find in the client portal as well. All right. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready. We're gonna go ahead and get software released so you guys keep an eye on your email. That software's coming out today. I can promise you that. Rena, are you asking what our hours of operation are for today?
No, I'm asking about the meeting.
Honestly, we're done. We were sort of in the Q&A part, so if there's something that I didn't show or that you guys wanted to see, we are done. We finished earlier than I anticipated. We blocked off 3 hours, but I thought we would probably only use 2. All right, so remember, software is going out today, and we will also have the presentations that I presented. I'm going to have the guys put those up on the SimpleTAX support website. So just go to simpletexsupport.com, click on SimpleTAX 1040, and then you'll see you'll see a document section. Those will be uploaded in there later this afternoon as well.